Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode we review quite a special bottle, and that's because this is the first Old Carter Bourbon to come to Colorado. This is Colorado Batch 1. Run the video. Alright then folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode of the Whiskey Cove. We're very excited to be able to bring you this review because this is Old Carter, very small batch. So this is their first very small batch to come to Colorado. This is Colorado Batch 1-CO. Very small batch. This is bottle 698 out of 739 bottles.
It's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee?
So this is the first time it's come to Colorado, and they've only sent 739 bottles, which have been spread out throughout some of the major liquor stores here. We were lucky enough that we were able to get in on one of these bottles, and this is the first Old Carter that I've ever been able to buy. What I paid for this was $215 with tax. It's right in line with what I assume Old Carter be going for in Colorado. Get your regular price of somewhere like Kentucky and add about 20%, and then you kind of come up with Colorado prices. So very fortunate that I was able to get this, and even for the high price, I'm still pretty stoked that I have it. So like I said, this is a straight bourbon whiskey. This is distilled in Indiana, so it is an MGP juice. And then also this is 58% ABV or 116 proof. Never filtered, never cut, and it does look quite dark in the glass there. And just on the back there it says, born from the soul of Somerset, selected and blended by Mark and Sherry Carter. So they were originally involved with alcohol through wine, and then they took their kind of interests over to whiskey. Out of Louisville, Kentucky, there is, if you want to go and do a tour there is normally a backlog of tours. It's very private and very select to be able to get into one of those tours. I wasn't able to do it when I was in Kentucky last time, but maybe moving forward if I book it enough in advance. So let's get this bottle cracked here. And overall the label kind of is like yellow and kind of like shaded black with a little bit of white there as well. It looks pretty smart. It looks like there's a lot of detail. Not sure what the horse is all about. I guess just that's their emblem. That's what they're going for. It does have like just a regular old cheap kind of plastic clear film on top. The one that usually causes me to have a lot of issues trying to get into the bottle, but nevertheless this one seems to be coming off quite well, and I can see straight away here that it's a real cork, which is always brownie points in my book. Not that we let that impact the score, but we take that into consideration maybe for value for money. Cork pop, very nice cork pop, and as you can see the nice real cork that we have there, because we do not want no bits of plastic to be in our whiskey. Let's pour in the glass here. We are using the Whiskey Cove Space High Taster. If you would like one of these, go over to the Whiskey Cove's website, thewhiskeycove.square.site. The link is in the description down below, where we have unbeatable prices on our premium glassware range. So then, just looking at the whiskey in the glass here, it looks copper, but a little bit on the darker mahogany side. Again, this is barrel proof at 58% ABV. Yes, this isn't a single barrel, but they got all of their barrels that make up the 739 bottles, blended them all in, and at the end they took an ABV reading and it was 58% ABV. Really nice so far, just seeing how it sticks to the glass. Just as I roll it, there's not much movement from where it sticks to the glass at all. I don't particularly like to swirl it in the glass, that's just not how I taste whiskey. That might work for some people, and do whatever works for you, but I just feel like it kind of stirs up a lot of alcohol within the glass, and that has a tendency to kind of numb certain parts of my nose and palate, just because it's stirring up the alcohol. So I like to roll it a little bit so the alcohol kind of sits to the glass, and then it just leaves like a really nice sweetness on the glass as the alcohol dissipates up the side of the glass. But enough talking from me, let's go in for a nose here. So far, I wouldn't say that the flavors are necessarily jumping out of the glass at me. They're not super potent, but they're definitely there. But they're not just, there's not one flavor, I should say, that's super stronger or much stronger or apparent than the others. Definitely getting a really nice little bit of a mapley barrel char sweetness there. Or maybe some subtle vanilla notes, but again, nothing too much. You're looking around a little bit. And then you also, again, this really nice, like stone fruity note. Maybe like an apricot, dried apricot there. Maybe a little grapey as well there, a little like a white dried grape, like a sultana. Candied sugar. All in all, you get a little bit more of that wood there as well. I don't know the age of what this whiskey, I wasn't able to find out the age, I wasn't able to find out the mash bill to bring you folks at home there. So we can generally get a good taste of what the age might be. We'll try that on the palate. I can usually tell if it's quite aged after 12 years, but sometimes if it's a blend, those notes can get lost a little bit. However, Old Carter, the first batch to come from Colorado. Cheers. So straight off the bat, there's a little bit of almost like a sweet butteriness to this. Nice little bit of corn, kind of like a buttered popcorn, I guess, if you like, at the movie theaters. Also some really nice barrel chop that comes over there as well. And there's definitely an oak tannin note there that's hitting the side of my tongue here. So there might be some decently aged whiskey in this too. It's a very well balanced whiskey. It doesn't offer too much of anything. It's quintessential bourbon in that aspect. You are getting some of the spice, the oak notes, and the sweetness throughout so far. The specifics of it, let's delve in a little bit more to see if we can pick those out. It does offer quite a chewy mouthfeel there as well. Really rich, does a good job at coating the mouth. There's almost like a touch of a yeasty note there. Think of like a Brown-Forman yeasty note that you get in a lot of Jack Daniels and Old Forester, which, you know, they do it really well with that yeasty note. I wouldn't say it necessarily is coming through as banana, a little bit maybe on like the light cherry clovey side. There's also a little bit of a sweet maltiness there on the back end and on the finish. You're not getting an abundance of oak on the back end, you're really getting that right up front. And then on the back end, it kind of just dries off a little bit. You're not really getting much spice. And then you're not really getting an abundance of sweetness there as well. You're almost left with a little bit of that yeasty note, maybe a little bit of like a fresh leather note there as well. Let's go in for another taste here. Also, getting a little bit of like a black pepper at the roof of my mouth and at the front of my tongue, and maybe like a little bit like burnt bread or from the barrel charred note there as well. And that spice is definitely coming through a little bit more on the finish the second time around. That kind of pepper note, that sting on the tip of your tongue comes through right away to the end there. So I feel at this point I have a good grasp about what this whiskey is. I know a lot of Old Carters can sometimes be single barrels, or they can be like almost nationwide releases of like batch 9, batch 10, batch 11. So this is strictly the Colorado batch, but you know, it'll give me hopefully a good indication of what to expect from the folks over at Old Carter and what they can come up with, which is what is presented to me today. A few things we need to take into consideration at this point. Value for money, A through F, and then score out of 100, 0 being the worst, 100 being the best. For value for money, like we always do, how limited it is, easy to find, what do we think of the branding, the exclusivity of the bottle, take all those things into consideration. So value for money on this one, I paid $215 for it. I'm gonna give this, a C. I think that for $215, I think that you can get maybe a whiskey that's a lot more complex, not as subdued in some of the flavors there. Like, even though there are flavors that are quite apparent, a lot of the more desirable flavors, if you like, you have to search around a little bit more. Value for money, so C for Old Carter. So then, score out of 100, and definitely the one that we've all come here to see, or to hear on. So I'll be honest, I thought this was going to be better. maybe it's one of those things, as we like to do in life, we kind of, if it's something limited, something we've never been able to get, we try to be looking for quite a while, or maybe we build it up to something that it has no way of becoming. I think Old Carter generally has a pretty good presence in the whiskey world of being really great whiskey for the most part, you know, really great small batch, well blended whiskey from MGP and other parts of the country. However, without me trying some of the others, I'm just gonna say on this one alone that, like I said, I think it fell a little bit short. It definitely has that yeasty note. This one's a little bit weird because it has like the oak tanniny zing that I get, but then it also has some yeasty, early kind of new distillate type note there as well. So I would love to know what the blend looks like, because I'm going to be completely honest, my guess just off the bat, and I might not be wrong here, but heck, that's why it's a guess. I think it's a blend of older aged whiskey and quite youthful whiskey there as well, because I'm picking up that kind of ethanol-y, yeasty note that's in this whiskey. Almost like something that I picked up from Hidden Barn Batch 1 last year. However, out of 100 score, I will give this a 68, which is 50 being average. It's above average. It's not as good as I would thought it was going to be. Quite low, if I'm completely honest. 68 isn't a great score for a $215 bottle of whiskey. What whiskey would I prefer over this? You know, heck, I mentioned it earlier on. I would probably pick up a bottle of Old Forester 1920 over this any day. Obviously, this offers a little bit more in terms of uniqueness and the Old Carter label, I guess, if you like. But if you're looking for a bottle of whiskey that just tastes somewhat similar in areas, but ultimately is much better than, I would say, Old Forester 1920. Even though this is MGP juice, I don't think it's one of the better expressions of MGP bourbon. And just for a little bit more information for you folks at home, I don't think I've ever really been a massive fan of MGP whiskey. And when I say whiskey, sorry, let me rephrase that, MGP bourbon. I think that they make some excellent rye, but I think for whatever reason, the bourbons, I'm not talking about like the wheated bourbons, but just like the regular bourbon mash bills have always kind of fallen a little bit short with me. I'm thinking like Good Times whiskey, that sort of thing. Some of the Smoke Wagon bourbons as well have kind of fallen a little short. I would probably prefer the Smoke Wagons over this. And like again, not sure what this mash bill is. I'm not sure if it's the 51% corn. But however, I probably would prefer the Smoke Wagons over this. So value for money, we're giving it a C, and score out of 100 a 68, which isn't a great day at the office for Old Carter. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I thought this was going to be an excellent video. I thought I was going to really enjoy this. I thought we were talking in the 80s for this bottle. However, it just fell short, and you can always guarantee that I will provide you with the honest review, or the most honest review that I can give you with the whiskey that is put in front of me. Hopefully you continue to enjoy it like in this channel, and hopefully you will comment on down below. Maybe you've had some of the other Old Carter's expressions, and how did they fall you? How did they taste? Am I in the wrong with this rating? Just let us know down in the comment section below. So as we drink through the world's whiskeys one glass at a time, cheers.